Organized labor is eyeing a nationwide strike from Thursday after over 10,000 workers today hit the streets across the country to protest recent increases in utility tariffs and prices of petroleum products.
You buy credit of about 30 cedis. Within 2 days, it is gone. How can we survive? How can we continue like this? It is really killing.
The nationwide demonstration is to compel government to reverse the tariff and petroleum price increases after talks with the Employment and Labor Ministry ended in a deadlock.
Organized labor is asking government to reduce the rate of utility tariff increases from their current levels to 50% for both electricity and water.
They are also unhappy about the new taxes they say have brought undue pressure on them and their families. Meanwhile, the Minister of Employment, Haruna Idrisa, says government will meet the organized labor to further discuss the issue. So why does government always wait till things get this way before they resolve them? Are demonstrations the only language that government understands? Well, organized labor is scheduled for a nationwide strike in the event their request is not granted. Will government wait for that too? This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The nationwide demonstration is to compel government to reverse the tariff and petroleum price increases, which workers say has brought undue hardship to them and their families.
Looking at the situation now, you buy credit of about 30 cedis. Within 2 days, it is gone. How can we survive, my brother? How can we survive? The salary is static, but the tariffs are going up. We have children to take care of. We have to take care of our patients, but we also have children to take care of our future and our children's future. How can we continue like this? It is really killing. We are pleading with the government that the tariffs should go down.
All right. You have this on your paper, which is a sort of placard for you, and they are saying President Mahama should be compassionate about it. But what sort of compassion are you looking for?
Oh, he should be compassionate to us. He should have pity on that our salaries are not up to what he expects us to pay. If he wants us to pay more, he should then increase our salaries for us. Then we pay realistic taxes for him.
Would you want to share with me how much you earn now and how much you want to earn?
I don't mind sharing.
Okay, tell me.
I earn about below 2,000 cedis.
Below 2,000. 100 cedis is below 2,000.
Yes.
But you're not earning 100 cedis.
1,000 and 2,000 cedis.
Okay, so you want him to increase it to how much?
I can't say how much now, but then it should be realistic that when I'm paying for fuel, when I'm paying for electricity or water, I wouldn't feel the pinch. That's all we are asking for.
Increases coming in January, they are unreasonable. They should reverse all the decisions if they really have the welfare of the workers at heart. They should reverse all. This was unreasonable increases.
Your leaders are going into a meeting tomorrow with the authorities. What exactly would you want them to take? Well, apart from these two.
Compromise on all the increases. Parliament should go back and reverse all that they have done.
How is this affecting you personally?
Really affecting me.
How?
Economically. How? It has eroded all my gains, all my economic gain. It's difficult. This is non-partisan. You see what I mean? It's the reality on the ground, which will be reversed. If the government really want to win the election, they should reverse all their...
Is this all about winning elections for you?
No, for the government. They think whatever they are doing will enable them to rake in more money so that they can do more projects, okay? And then reach out to other people. But it is not a reasonable decision. They should reverse it.
We are suffering a lot. That's
what exactly do you mean?
The money that we are earning at the end of the month is lesser than the money that we are spending. That's why. Personally, it's like I'm working but not gaining anything, not having anything down. You are just working and using the same money to pay for the bill.
Organized labor says the demonstrations will be followed by a nationwide strike on January 21 and 22, 2016. TUC General Secretary Kofi Asamoah, presenting the petition to the Employment and Labor Minister, said nothing will change their plan if government does not address their concerns.
The Association of Ghana Industries and all other business groups are clear in their analysis that industry is suffering. Honorable Minister, organized labor is asking government to reduce the rate of utility tariff increases from their current levels to 50% for both electricity and water.
Oh yeah.
Additionally, the live consumption for water should remain at between 0 and 20 cubic meters. 2. Withdraw the Energy Sector Levies Act at 899, which has occasioned very steep increases in petroleum prices at a time when crude oil prices are trembling on the international market and the exchange rate of the Ghana cedi is relatively stable. Honorable Minister, any attempt to fix all our economic challenges within a couple of months or within a year can result in social instability with implications for both economy and the polity. Honorable Minister will remain available to continue the dialogue towards economic and social development of our country, Ghana. Joe Biden! Hey! Joe Biden! Hey! Joe Biden! Hey! Honorable Minister, we don't agree. I am handing this petition to you to recite the President. We know the President is a compassionate President and can also have compassion on us. Joe Biden!
The workers could not even have the patience to listen to the Labour Minister. But in essence, the Labour Minister says government will meet the organized labour and find solutions to these problems. But Labour experts, however, believe government should do more than it's doing now.
There must be a way for both parties to sit around a common table and have some rules that will govern the process of the negotiation, and because at all costs they will have to reach agreement. That's the point.
So for instance, in terms of compromise, would you suggest that maybe if labor union was asking for a complete scrap of these increases, government could say that, you know what, it is not possible to do a complete scrap of these increases. Maybe we could try to reduce it by 15%, and then you may not be completely happy with it, but at the end of the day, we will also get something to help us with what we're doing.
Well, the way out, if you like, I will venture to make a suggestion. I think that government could calm down a little bit on the tariff increases to maybe 53. I don't know how much, 53, 52. When they do that, then the government will then be forced to absorb the effect of that tariff reduction to cushion ECG, Gridco, and VRA so that we can have our energy. And then, 2, how do we get money to do that? It must come through maybe petroleum levy, as it is now. So we cannot touch both at the same time. And so there has to be some agreement by both parties to understand. So government must come up with the total information on the table for labor to appreciate the concerns that government has as an employer, that we can find a way of solving the problem. But to totally say no is like taking an entrenched position.
We're still trying to reach some of the executives of organized labor. We'll be bringing you Dr. Yao Ban, who is Deputy General Secretary of TUC, and also Kofi Asamoah, who is the General Secretary, to further discuss this issue. We're still analyzing the issues, and in the studio with me is ADR Labor Management Practitioner plus Civil Engineer, 3-in-1, Ben Arthur. Thanks for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Ben, it looks like the government only understands demonstration. I mean, that's the only language they understand. Should that be the case?
It shouldn't be the case. But unfortunately, it looks as if not just demonstrations, but when it comes to industrial relations, we call something coercion. So when negotiation fails, or when there's a tradition that employers or employees do not listen, then some amount of force is used. And that's what occurs to us in the form of demonstrations and strikes. So there are power tools to force one side to agree to certain conditions. And it looks as if in Ghana, it has come to stay that when people go on strike or demonstrate, they are better heard than when they don't embark on demonstrations.
The first negotiations with government went bad, and now the Labour and Employment Minister is assuring us of another meeting. How sure are we that that will go well?
This question, if I had the opportunity, I would have given it to some of your team members to really query the sector minister. But for me, it's a show of good faith. Earlier on, the two parties had not demonstrated good faith, so it's a show of good faith, and I believe that this time around, when they get the opportunity to sit and to dialogue, they will all do so with a common interest at stake. And the common interest, I mean the interest of moving together in harmony. Industrial disharmony has, precarious or very, very, very severe consequences for us as a nation. No country develops with industrial disharmony. And we need to know that when we talk about economic policies, advancement, and the rest, underlying it is industrial harmony. So there's a need not to just see demonstrations as the only language that we need to understand. There's one failure on our part when it comes from the security sector, that how come that workers will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, and at the end of the day, it looks as if nobody listens. Then when they are ready to go on demonstrations or to do something that we would not appreciate as Ghanaians, then we really want to sit up and then want to talk to them. If we knew we could have a dialogue with them. Today's demonstration, the direct and the indirect numbers involved cost us so much money in this nation. So if we knew we could have a dialogue with them, my question is, why couldn't we? Why must we wait for them to demonstrate and, excuse my language, waste time, waste resources before we call them to another meeting. And decide it shouldn't be the method at all.
It shouldn't be the method, but what's the reality? It could be that government, I mean, it's beyond government means to actually address the concerns of these workers. What's the reality?
For me, the reality is that the difficulties that the government is facing calls for some measures in mobilizing revenue. So the tariffs occur to me, in my candid opinion, as one of the mechanisms for trying to, close certain gaps. But as you close the gaps, are you going to use my clothes or my skin to close that gap? And that's where the demonstration and the questions that the workers are raising, come in. That are we going to sacrifice us in your attempt to look good? And there's one failure on the part of government when it comes to this particular tariffs. For example, with the good governance principle of participation, it's a total failure. We know that we have organized labor, we have citizens. I don't believe that people were engaged enough in fixing some of these tariffs, in passing the law that increased the...
This wouldn't have been the result.
No, it wouldn't. If there had been a broad consultation, my senior colleague, Mr. Game, who spoke, he used to be the sector minister for employment. And during his time, there were a lot of engagement. You know, I knew that probably there were a lot of engagement behind the scenes before people will come in the open and even talk concerning minimum wage and other issues.
I mean,
so
you
when
guys
you
have
consult
always maintained that demonstrations and strikes should be the last resort.
It's the last resort, and Labour has been very clear. It's the last resort that, look, we have spoken, but we have not been heard. Our voices are not loud enough, but our actions could be louder. So they go and demonstrate, and they tell you that we would not like to do this, but we have no option than to do this. It shouldn't be the only way forward. Dialogue is always the best, because even after demonstration, they must still sit and talk about the issues.
But interestingly, this demonstration, a nationwide strike is supposed to follow, and in fact, barring any difference or last-minute changes, it should start tomorrow, January 21. I mean, a nationwide strike. If it happens so, I mean, what could be the implications, or what would you advise the two parties?
Let me say something funny here.
Okay.
I see today's demonstration, especially the Eastern Regional one, as more or less a tourist attraction. And forgive me for this description. A tourist attraction in the sense that it was beautiful. You know, the police not collaborating, but at least exercising some restraint in this case. It was very, very beautiful. But I'm telling you, strike will not be beautiful. It will not be anything that we would like to enjoy. Because lives will be at stake.
Exactly.
Monies will be at stake. Revenues that government ought to have mobilized will be at stake. And it will be a very serious issue. If we have people who go on strike for 2 days, and essential services that you require will not be available, then you begin to understand some of these things, that it is very, very costly. So the demonstrations, for me, they are like a fanfare, more or less.
But
not that they are important, but I'm just trying to weigh the magnitude,
between
the level of impact of the two. The demonstration is like a fanfare, but the strikes are very serious issues that employers also lose. Everybody is a victim, including those who are embarking on the strike. Everybody is a victim.
But
of some of these things.
Who is the highest, the biggest loser? I guess is government or the employer.
All of us.
Of course,
all
of us are losers.
All of us are losers. But in direct proportions, we could say that the employer tends to lose more, especially when it is a legal strike where you're supposed to pay workers for being on strike. Elsewhere, what happens is that when you are paying your dues, you pay dues for strike. So when there is a strike action, then employers might not have to pay you during the times that you embark on strike. It is your union that has to cough up that amount of money. In some of these jurisdictions, when people want to embark on strikes, they really will calculate and calculate and calculate before they will decide to back on strikes. They will want to look at the numbers. But here, we don't have such regulations. So the point here is that at the end of the day, people go on strike, and once it's a legal strike, employers will not be able to withhold any monies from them. These are some of the challenges. So employers tend to lose. But in these circumstances, especially when it's public sector workers going on strike, all of us
will lose. Let's look at the strike. How long can they go for strike? I mean, what does the labor law say about these type of strikes?
The labor law has no limit for strikes as to number of days.
How long can go on strike?
No, as long as it remains legal for you to be on strike. We don't have any limits like after 21 days when the matter is not resolved, go back to work on. You go on strike as far as it's legal and as far as the matters remain unresolved.
So as they go on strike, they will be paid by their employer?
Once it's a legal strike,
right.
they have to be paid.
Okay.
It's very interesting in Ghana.
Very
Once it's a legal strike, they must be paid.
Okay.
It's a must.
Okay.
And if it's an illegal strike, one of the consequences could be dismissal. It could be forfeiture of your payment and the rest.
So it means that, of course, whichever way, government shouldn't even allow this to happen. But let's look at the event where the organized labor goes on the strike, and of course, that also does not yield dividend. What other avenue can they employ to demand that government address their concerns?
Interestingly, the best avenue is negotiation. And negotiation basically means that we're talking about negotiating in good faith. Right. Negotiating in good faith basically means that you must share relevant information.
Okay.
At least you must understand that you have a common interest. And you know, I've always likened employer-employee relationship to that of marriage.
Right.
It's like a boat.
Right.
All of you are in it. You float together,
right.
You sink together.
Okay.
That's the kind of relationship that exists at the workplace. So when we have differences, dialogue is the best way out. If dialogue fails, then you could go for a third-party intervention in the form of mediation, arbitration, and all those things.
Right.
If it does not work, then the power options come in.
Like
court, demonstrations, and all those things.
I'll have you hold and go onto the phone line and speak with Dr. Justice Yankson, a member of the organized labor. Good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on today's big story.
Good evening, sir.
The Labor and Employment Minister has assured that he will do something about your request. Would you hold on to your nationwide strike that's supposed to start tomorrow?
I think there is a bit of a mix-up.
Okay.
You know, the organized labor group actually issued a roadmap close to about 10 days ago.
Right.
And then last week, Thursday, when we met, we revised that roadmap.
Okay.
And basically what that revision said was that there was going to be a demonstration today.
Right.
And that was going to be the key activity for this week.
Okay.
If you remember, the earlier one had said there was going to be demonstrations Tuesday, Wednesday, and then strike
Thursday, Friday. Right.
But when we met last week, we reviewed it in view of the meeting that we have with government tomorrow.
Okay.
And decided that there was going to be only one-day demonstration.
Okay.
So technically speaking, tomorrow and Friday, there are no strikes, there are no demonstrations until the organized labor leadership comes up with a new directive, if any.
Okay, so the first negotiations we all know ended in deadlock. In case negotiations do not go well this time round too, would you end up with your nationwide strike, and how long will that take?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not in a position to give timeline.
Right.
But what I know for sure is that tomorrow we're going to meet the government side.
Okay.
Based on whatever would prevail tomorrow.
Right.
The leadership of organized labor will meet ASAP.
Right.
And take concrete decisions as to the way forward and the other activities. But what we are committed to doing is to ensure that the ordinary worker at least is able to survive under this kind of situation. We need a reduction in the tariff as well as some withdrawal, if not all, of the energy sector levy.
Looking at the explanation that government has given you so far, for instance, that its hands are tied, don't you think you're pushing government too much?
Well, we are also tied. We are also tied. And how are we going to pay? How are we going to survive? How are we going to work? So it goes beyond the government saying his hands are tied. No, we are also really, really under a lot of pressure. Our rank and file cannot just make ends meet. Some are not going to be able to continue working because industries and small businesses are going to collapse.
Right.
They will end up unemployed, and God forbid, some will become destitute. So we should understand that in this constitutional dispensation, our own constitution, under the directive principles of state policy, enjoys government to ensure that its policies will make the people of Ghana happy to some that way.
Right.
So if we are not happy, then government is also not living up to what our constitution enjoins government to do. And that is why we are committed to further dialogue with the government of the day to ensure that at least the Ghanaian worker is able to go home and have his peace of mind.
So quickly, your expectations at tomorrow's meeting with the minister?
Well, we expect government to extend the hand that will ensure that at the end of the day, there's going to be some reduction. We have made our position known to government. It's up to government to ensure that whatever our demands are, we are met, at least to the point where we cannot say that, well, this is the best everybody could get under the circumstances.
We're really grateful for your time on today's big story. Dr. Justice Yangsing is Deputy General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Of course, is a member of organized labor. Ben, you heard him right.
Yes.
Well, tomorrow's meeting looks like, I don't know how to put it, but it looks like what should resolve all these problems. So what should go into that meeting?
First, a goodwill from both parties. And they should know that they do so on behalf of all of us Ghanaians, both government and labor, because government cannot see the way forward if labor is not in the picture. And likewise, labor. So our advice that, for example, what labor is asking for 50% is reasonable. And I expect that government should take it in good faith. And the consequences of the increase in petroleum prices, government ought to weigh it very, very well. And it's my advice that government probably must seek other means of mobilizing revenue. For example, government can take the option of widening the tax net instead of burdening the very few. We have people, no matter what you do to the economy, they will survive because they are rendering certain services that they can also put whatever they have to put on for people to patronize. We have others that for some of these precarious situations, you are only eroding the power of their money in their pocket, even though the quantum remains the same, but the purchasing power keeps on reducing. So for some of these people, it is a very disadvantageous condition for them. I saw one of the placards read, "Our salary is not equal
to the tariffs."
I
think it's
what
very
it means
real.
That, you know, the person actually spoke to a mechanism for fixing wages by looking at what can keep a family, what we call living wages. And as far as my calculations permit me to comprehend, I can tell you that anybody who is earning below 500 Ghana cedis in Ghana must be a very poor person.
Very
because
poor.
If you are really paying water bills and electricity bills and you are taking trot to work
at this
every
high
day
rate
and back at the rate of even 2 cedis, TNT costs just 2 cedis, you cannot survive with 500 Ghana cedis. You must be a magician to do that. So.
Well, many thanks to you, Ben Arthur. That's all time will allow us. We've been talking about the demonstration today by organized labor. We're told that they'll meet the Minister of Labor and Employment tomorrow, and that meeting, we're told, is a make or do meeting. We hope it will end well. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Have a good evening.